Good morning, everyone. Let's start our Gita class with some Gita prayers. Om Parthaye Pratibodhita Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasen Grathitam Puran Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrit Varshine Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayane Am Tvam Anusandhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshine नमो अस्तु ते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे फूल अरविंद आयत पत्र नेत्र येन तव्या भारत तैल पूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञान मया प्रदीपः परपान पारिजाताये तोत्र वेत्र एकपाने ज्ञान मुद्राये कृष्णाय गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगत गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्राहवती कृपेन वहने कर्णेन वेला कुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तने सो तीर्णा खलु पांडवै रन नदी के वर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरो जमलम गीता अर्थगंधोटकम नानाख्यानक केसरम हरि कथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन षटपदे रह पे पिये मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरिम यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवे वेदै सांग पद क्रमोपनिषदै गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्थित तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. So we are trying to study chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita these days, RajVidya, RajaGuhya. And we ended our last week's class with verse number 22. So if anybody has a question on that, otherwise I'll continue from there. So in verse 22, Lord Krishna is saying that to those people who worship me alone means exclusively, thinking of no other, to those ever self-controlled, I secure for them that which is not already possessed, so what they don't have, and preserve for them what they already possess. So the key terms over here is yog and kshema and ananya bhakti. Ananya bhakti. So ananya bhakti is the singleness of the purpose. I want God and God alone. Only then we can succeed. If our mind is going into several different channels, there's no power. That's like a very dispersed mind. Even when we do worldly duties, if we just have a dispersed mind which is scattered everywhere, we cannot achieve what we want to achieve. Something very simple we cannot do. Over here, we are trying to connect with God. We are showing our love to God. So that single pointedness is what he's advising. Because actions, when they are performed like that, they gain potency. Okay, we want to be there. We are thinking, just superficially just remembering God will not cut it. And most of the time, that's what we do. In our mind, there are so many thoughts, so many things. Sure, God is there, but God is only a small fraction in there. So two main secret factors he's mentioning over here. Consistency of willing and thinking. So consistency has to be there. And then we got to pour out ourselves with a singleness of purpose. And you can say that the third factor in there too, self-control. See, if we control our thoughts, our senses, our body, only then we can do it. So he says, if a devotee does that, hey, I give that devotee what the devotee doesn't have, and whatever he has gained, I guard that also for him. So power to gain and power to guard. That is yoga and shame. We always apply struggles to gain. We keep on pouring ourselves to gain more and more. Or we do make the effort to guard. He says, I do that. I do for my devotee. It is a promise given by the Lord that to the person who is capable of maintaining these three factors, which I just mentioned, then we don't have to have any anxiety to gain and no worry to guard. He says, I'll do it for you. He says, this is my responsibility. I voluntarily accept this responsibility for my devotee. Okay. And over here, this is like a law. Because God has established these laws. So this is a law. So law of nature, just like a water goes from up to downstream, the law of fire is to give heat and energy. This is the law of God. He says, my devotee surrenders to me, I take care of him. Okay? And he himself is saying it. It's not somebody else's words. These are the words which came from the mouth of Lord Krishna. So take it seriously. And if you don't do that, if you don't have the Ananya Bhakti, what happens? Because Bhagats are many, Ananya Bhagat, very few. He says, verse number 23, Ye api anya devata bhagta, ye jante shraddhya anvata, te api mam ev konte, ye janti avidhi purvakam. Ye means who, api means even, anya devata, other gods, bhagta, devotees, ye jante, worship, shraddhya, with faith, anvataha, endowed. Te api, they also, mam me, ev alone, konte, Arjuna, yajanti, worship, avidhi purvakam, by the wrong method. See, there's a vidhi purvakam and avidhi purvakam, a wrong method. So over here, he is explaining the situation of those who worship the lower gods or the devatas, celestial beings. Why do we worship celestial beings? For material gain. So that's why he's calling it a vidhi purvak. It's not a total surrender to God. It is worship for some gain. They do not realize, these worshippers, they do not realize that the celestial beings receive their powers from Lord himself. So translation of this verse is, even those devotees who endowed with faith worship other devatas. Worship me alone, O son of Kunti, but by the wrong method. It's almost like there is a beautiful plant or a tree, and you want to water the flowers, you want to water the leaves, you want to water the branches, you just do it separately. But if you water the roots, the water will go towards all of them. So Vidhi Purvak is watering the roots. And that's what a seasoned gardener do. Water the roots. And each and every flower and the bud and the leaf and the branch, they get the water, the nourishment. In Bhagavad Puran, this example is given. Yatha taror mool nishechena trishyanti tat sakand bhujo pishaka pranoho upaharcha yathe indriya tathev sarvaharnam chayutechya. So when we water the root of a tree, branches, twigs, leaves, and flowers, they all get nourished. And who is nourishing them? The roots are. The same way when we put the food in our mouth, it nourishes our prana also, our senses also. Automatically. We don't have to give separate food for the fingernails and the separate food for the toenails. The whole body gets it when we put the food in our mouth. So in the same way, by worshipping the Supreme Lord, all his parts, including the Devatas, though Devatas are nothing but parts of God. Those are the powers given to those celestial beings by the Lord. They are also worshipped. So that's why he's calling this Avidhi Purva. When we do it to the Devatas, because we are really have a scattered mind then. I want to do a puja to this Devata on Monday, this Devata on Tuesday, this Devata on Wednesday, this Devata in the morning, this Devata in the evening. That's all Avidhi Purvak, according to Lord Krishna. Okay, with a fully concentrated mind, with the full surrender, love God. We all know we can love only one like that. Otherwise, our love is divided. But he says that even from the Devatas, when you are getting something, you are getting it from me. Because I am the giver to that Devata also. So in the next verse, he is elaborating this further. Aham hi sarva yajnanam, this is verse number 24. Aham hi sarva yajnanam bhogta cha prabhu evacha na tu mam abhijananti tatven ataha chavanti te. Aham I. He means verily. Sarva yajnanam, of all the yajnas, of all the sacrifices, bhogta, enjoyer, cha means and, prabhu, Lord, ev alone, again cha means and. Na is not, tu means but, mam, me, abhijananti, no. So that means what you don't know. Tatvain, in essence or in reality, ataha, hence, chiavanti, fall, te means they. He says, I alone am the enjoyer. In and the Lord of all sacrifices. So the enjoyment of the yajna, God is getting. Just like a water, even if you put it on the flower, it goes to the root. But they do not know me in essence. So that means people who worship like this, worship all the Devatas, they really don't know the essence. Hence they fall. Hence they fall means they come back to the mortal world. So it's like a Sakam Bhakti. Whenever we are worshipping the Devatas, we are doing a Sakam Bhakti. So because of those kamanas, because of those worldly desires, he says, you come back here again. That is falling means. Instead of being evolved, attaining that ultimate purpose of life, he says, you come back then. Even though you worshipped, but you worshipped a vidhi purvakam, the wrong way, kept the desires. Your love for me was not 100% a vidhi purvakam. So this is like you can understand against what the law ordains, a vidhi, or wrong methods. When we do something wrong way, sure, we will get hurt. So in the ritualistic sacrifices, also, Lord is the enjoyer. So that's why Lord Krishna says, I am the immutable reality, which is behind all the devatas, all the deities. So remember that. But they invoke the limited potential in me. They do not come to realize my infinite glory. They just want to revel only in something smaller. So it's like a drawback, if you want to look at it. It's like a drawback in worshipping the celestial gods, the devatas. The power has been bestowed upon them by the Supreme Lord. They do possess the ability to grant material favors, but that cannot liberate their devotees from the cycle of birth and death. That only God can do. They can only offer to others what they themselves possess. Even we can understand, we can give somebody only what we have. If we have peace, we can give peace. If we have money, only then we can give money. If we have happiness, only then we can give happiness to somebody else. If we have knowledge, only then we can give the knowledge. So these devatas are like that. Those celestial gods, the devatas, they are not liberated from sansara. They are still in this, they are the master of the nature, one part of the nature, whether it's a sun god or a wind god or an ocean god, whatever god, or even a Yamraj. Yamraj said it very clearly to that 8-year-old boy, Nachiketa, in Kathopanishad. He sang the glory of Nachiketa, that you are asking for, which I did not ask for when I did my tapasya. So if they are not released or liberated, how can they release their devotees from it? But on the other hand, those who understand the proper way of worshipping at the feet of God Himself, and when their devotion reaches to that perfection, they go beyond the world of mortals to the divine abode. They become one with me, he says. Continuation of this, verse number 25. Yanti dev vrata devan pitrin yanti pitri vrata bhutani yanti bhutejyah yanti madhya jina api mam. Yanti go dev vrata, worshippers of the devatas. Devan, to the devas. Pitrin, ancestors. Yanti go pitri vrata, worshippers of the pitris, the ancestors. Bhutani, to the bhuts. Yanti go bhutejya, the worshippers of the bhuts. Yanti go madhyajina, my worshippers. Api also mam, to me. The worshippers of the devatas or celestial gods go to the devatas. To the ancestors, go to the ancestor worshippers. To the bhuts or the elements, they go to the worshippers of the bhuts. But my worshippers come to me. So whatever is in our mind, that's where we will go. So if we have God and only God in our mind, we will become one with God by loving Him. It is the law of life that as you think, so you become. Somebody asked me, then why do we do the Shraddhs, which are going on these days? 15 days allocated to remember the ancestors. We are not worshipping them. We are worshipping God. We are just thanking them. That because of them, we have this life right now. But worship is for God though. Those mantras should be for the God, loving God. Okay, otherwise, Pitri Vrata. Pitrin Yanti, Pitri Vrata. So we got to remember that at that time too. So the thoughts entertained at a given moment, they do get crystallized. And that's how the blueprint is created. This blueprint is called the sanskars. So according to that blueprint, our future is formed. So that's why we got to be very careful. So this is like a very natural law of psychology in the field of spiritual self-development. So worshippers of the Devatas, they go to the Devatas, etc. Okay? And remember, the Pitri really means, the word Pitri means ancestors. So worshippers of ancestors would mean person who are enthusiastically alive. Sure, there's a cultural purity. You want to follow the traditions, but at the same time, do not forget God. The essence is God. And what is a worshippers of bhoots? That is like elements, physical things, material things. So worshippers of the bhoot are they'll come into these elements, into this prakriti again and again. So devotees can only be elevated to the level of the entity they worship. That's the point he's trying to make. If there are several ladders over here and we are trying to climb, we can climb only up to the top of that ladder. If the ladder is short, no matter how hard we climb on, we can go only up to that place. See, just like a pipe can only rise to the level of reservoir to which it's connected. So this really gives us a good conclusion of what he's talking about in these last 3-4 verses. And as a sadhaka, what Lord Krishna is trying to teach us, we got to reach the highest level of spiritual evolution. We must worship the Supreme. And this vrat word over here means resolve and undertaking this kind of endeavor. Vrat. I make a resolve. I am determined. I want to stay on the path of spirituality. And I want to reach the Supreme in this lifetime. So very firmly resolve to worship God and engage steadfastly in his devotion. Then we'll definitely go to God. So this is the logic behind this assurance he's given over here to us. Now, beautiful verse, next one, verse number 26, is telling us how easy it is to worship him. Sometimes we think, oh, God, Supreme Abode, maybe I have to just do a lot of difficult tasks. No. Very simple. It's the simplest. In fact, the Karam Kand is very difficult. But to surrender to God, loving God only, is very easy. Going back to that example, watering the roots is very easy. Just keep on watering at one point. You don't have to do it separately. Let's look at it. Verse number 26. Patram pushpam phalam toyam ya me bhaktya paryachati tat aham bhakti upritam ashnami paryat atmana Patram, a leaf. Pushpam, a flower. Phalam, a fruit. Toyam, water. Ya means who, me means to me, bhaktya with devotion. Priyachati offers. Tat means that, aham I, bhakti upahritam offered with devotion. Ashnami, accept or eat. Paryat atmanaha, by the pure minded. That is the condition of pure mind. Whoever offers me with devotion, and devotion means love. Love. One pointed, single pointed love for God alone. Whoever offers me with devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, water, that I accept. Offered by the pure minded with devotion. So mind has to be pure. There has to be love for God. He says, I accept whatever my devotee gives it to me. So first he established the benefits of worshipping the Supreme. And now he is explaining how easy it is to do so. How easy. In the worships of the Devatas and the ancestors, there are many rules. That's like a ritualistic portion of our Vedas, a lot of rules. And the priests, they say they got to be strictly followed if you want to get the benefit. But over here, God says, I accept anything from you. With a loving heart, if you give it to me with a loving heart, if you have a fruit, just give me a fruit. I'll eat it. If you don't have a fruit, you might have a flower, give it to me. If you don't even have a flower, you have a leaf, give it to me. I'll accept. And even if you don't have a leaf, everybody has the access to water. He says, give me some water. Whatever you have, give it to me. Whenever there's a love in giving, it becomes a devout gift. Devout gift. And we have the examples of these in our scriptures. We know that what did Shabri offer to Lord Ram? Already eaten, tasted berries. And Lord Ram accepted them graciously. We wouldn't do that. If somebody has given us half-eaten fruit, will we eat it? But Lord Ram did happily. He accepted them, ate them as it was the most delicious meal in this world. And the same thing Lord Krishna did. Duryodhana was offering Chappan Bhoj, that royal meal to him. He didn't accept that. He went to Vidur's house. Vidurani, Vidur's wife, she just had bananas, but in the love of Lord Krishna, she forgot. In fact, the story goes that she was taking a bath at that time. Lord Krishna came, she forgot that she's not even wearing proper clothes. She was so much in love with him. And she kept offering the peels of the banana. And Lord Krishna ate those. Because in that ecstasy, she forgot. So that's what Lord Krishna is saying. When you offer something to me, do it with the pure mind and bhakti, the love. Because we know that there is no religion in the world which does not recognize and encourage the offering. Okay, offering is it's like a custom. Sometimes a modern person says that why does God need the material things from us? God doesn't need anything. God can create this whole universe just with his heart. So God doesn't need anything. It is not what you offer, but how you offer is that guarantees the result. Are we in love with God for the sake of loving him? Or do we want some kind of a result? So that's why in this verse, God himself is expressing what would please him the most. When you look at Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, you can see very clearly that material objects that we offer, they have no value to the Lord of the universe. It is the devotion and the love that prompt the offerings that are accepted by the deity. So don't become arrogant that we are giving it to God. It's not ours to begin with. It's his. He created those. Who created flowers or the leaves or the water or the fruits? We did not. We can't even create a blade of grass. It's his. Be it a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, whatever be the offering, he says, I accept. But when it's lovingly given, only then. Love has to be there. But if we are arrogant about it, I am taking it, no acceptance there. So we got to analyze carefully that what is in our mind. Is it just a hollowness of the vanity of offering something to the Lord? That I'm writing the biggest check? Or I'm taking the biggest basket of fruit? Or I'm feeding so many people? That's all vanity, that's all arrogance. So that's why Lord Krishna is insisting over here that giving is important, but giving with what kind of a attitude? So whatever we are giving, it's almost like a container. What is contained in there is a love and devotion. It's almost like when we eat food, we need the spoon to eat, but what are we eating? What is in that spoon? So the flowers and the fruits, those are just these spoons or the conveyors of love and dedication. Remember that. Only the conveyors. So offering with devotion by the pure-minded. When it's done properly, it can serve as a good vehicle to tread the spiritual path of self-development. Now let's look at next verse also. He's further expanding it. Yat karoshi, yat ashnasi, yat juhoshi, dadasi yat. Yat tapasyasi konte tat kurushva mad arpanam. Beautiful verse again. Yat means whatever. Kuroshi, you do. Again, yat means whatever. Ashnasi, you eat. Juhoshi, you offer as a sacrifice. Dadasi, give away charity. What? Yat, whatever. Tapasyasi, you practice as austerity. Konti for Arjuna, that means that. Kurushva, do. Mad arpanam, as an offering to me. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, Whatever you offer in sacrifice, whatever you give away as charity, whatever you practice as austerity. Oh, Kaunteya, oh Arjuna, do it as an offering to me. So this particular verse is explaining how all through our activities, not just only during our prayers, but all our activities in our life, how can we consistently live in the spirit of devout offering? Okay, worship we do, sure, couple of times a day. We do meditation also. We do seva also, but still there are a lot of hours left. When we eat also, we sleep also, we walk also, we work also. How can we make that as offering? This is what he's telling us. That mental attitude is of supreme importance rather than the physical act. Because sometimes we could be sitting in a beautiful temple, but our mind is materially attached. That's not what God wants. No matter how busy we are in this world, still our mind should be attached to God. We should never forget this. You are all familiar with Sant Kabir. His famous couplet is, Jahan jahan chalu, karu parikrama. So wherever I go, I see you, I'm going around you. Jo jo karu, so seva. No matter what I'm doing, I'm serving you. Jab somu karu dandavat. That's how I'm doing it. Pranam to you, prostration to you when I'm sleeping. Janu dev na duja. He has explained it beautifully for us. This is how our life should be. If we want to reach to that ultimate goal in this lifetime. Not even after this lifetime, during this lifetime also. Because sometimes we think that, oh gosh, I don't have enough money. How can I offer? We don't need to own a big amount of money. Whatever we have, whatever we can do, he says, I accept. Because he, being the creator and the sustainer of all the objects, he is not hungry for the objects. So devotion is not to be restricted to the periphery of the temple room. It is to be engaged in at every moment of our life. All actions should be offered to him. Because normally we separate our devotion and our daily life. No, the whole life should be a devotion. That's why often it is said that Hindu way of living, that is like it. Sure, Hinduism is a religion, but it's a way of life also. Say God and only God, every part of our life. So sacred offering, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer in sacrifice. And what do we offer in sacrifice? When we do the yajna, sure, we are putting the material things in there, but we are giving our time also, we are giving our energy also. At that time also connect with God. Whatever you give as a charity, whatever you austerities. So whenever we are doing tapasya also, don't forget God. All these can be done as a sacred offering. Sacred offering for eternal. So to remember the self during all the transactions of life is to remember the substratum. That means you are never forgetting the essence. It's almost like a jeweler working on a piece of jewelry made out of gold, never forgets it's gold. Substratum is gold. Whether he's making that gold into earrings or a ring or a necklace or bangles, he knows, he remembers it's gold. So the same thing, we got to remember the substratum also. So a devotee who can constantly remember the divine in all his contexts in life is truly loving God, truly offering all the actions to God. So we got to just learn from these verses. We don't have to run away from this world. God is here in us, outside us also. Try to see God, the divinity everywhere. Keep that love and devotion and respect and surrender in all your actions. And what would be the effect of this kind of a living? He's going to tell us in the next verse. Let me just read it and we'll go over it next time. He says, Shubh Ashubh Falay Evam Moksha Se Karam Vandane Sannyas Yoga Yuktatma Vimuktaha Mam Upashyase. He says, you'll be freed from the bonds of actions, yielding good and evil fruits. Otherwise, our good actions, they give us good fruits, and bad actions, they give us bad fruits. He says, you'll be liberated from both of them. Because we have done many, many good and many, many bad also. But if you worship God, love God this way, you'll be freed from all of them. How? With the mind steadfast in yoga of renunciation. Sannyas yoga yukta atma. And liberated, you shall come unto me. So this is the outcome of a life lived. What he's telling us. So he's promising us, but at the same time, he's telling us what to do and how to do it. And he made it so simple also for us. He did not say that earn money and then give me the money. He did not say have a great body and then serve me. No, whatever you have, wherever you are, connect yourself with God. With it. Be in mind though. Mind has to be clean. That's very, very important. So pure-minded. Paryat atmana. If the mind is not pure, and we all know what impure mind is. The mind which is housing those 6 enemies of ours, that's the impure mind. And what are those enemies? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, Matsarya. So we got to keep an eye on those enemies of ours. We don't want them to make our mind dirty. Because if mind gets dirty, no matter how much devotion we show, God says, I don't accept it. Okay, so we will start our next class with verse number 28. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.
Good morning.